3 of 4. There's only one more day left after today of the Purposeful People webinar series book launch. Yay! And today have we got a treat for you. If you haven't already had so much value, oh my goodness, you're in for more today. So today we have Dom Hawes, we've got Kate Philp, yes, Kate, did I get that right? Kat McManus, Jamie Watkins, Chris McKibbin, and of course, Chris Paton. So we absolutely adore this book. Everybody's adoring this book because we are, we're out there and the word's getting around, which is so exciting. And everybody in the book is shouting it far and wide. So thank you to everyone who's bought the book. You're doing amazing things for our 4 charities. And if you haven't got it, why not? It's time to go and get it now. And we have no qualms in asking you to go and get your Kindle copy. Help us get to #1 because you all deserve to be best-selling authors, guys. And I'm just going to pass you over now to Chris Paton, who's the business leader in this book, to share with you the why behind this amazing project. It's over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, I mean, for several of the people on this call right now, they've already heard this little spiel already a couple of times, but essentially, I don't like it when people struggle. I don't like it when people are having a hard time, and I am pretty much hardwired to want to wrap an arm around folks and look after them. And with so much going on over the last 18 months to 2 years, really, globally and everywhere else, I think everyone's having a bit of a tough time. And I often find when things are quite tough, it makes a big difference to go and speak to somebody and to talk to somebody and to gain inspiration from what they have to say. And I can say that apart from yourself, Karen, all the other 5 people on this webinar are folks who I have sat down with, many with over a glass of wine or a beer, and had very heartfelt chats with. And they've been very supportive to me and very caring to me. And I thought, why not go to these folks, see if I can persuade them by hook or by crook to get involved in a book. And if we can share their views that they have shared with me, that helped me, maybe we can help a whole bunch of other people. And then can we take it a step further? And I know we'll talk about this towards the end of the webinar, but can we also then maybe make it so that it's a benefit to 4 charities and we don't get anything at all? So it's just us genuinely all trying to make a difference. So it's not just about the book having lots of references to purpose in it. It's a bunch of people that have written the book that have got purpose themselves, and the book serving a purpose for the charities.
How does he make it sound different every time? Well done, Chris. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And it is an absolute passion project, and that's why it's a privilege to be the publisher of this book. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Karen McDermott of KMD Books, and I'm the proud publisher of Purposeful People. I haven't introduced myself before in the others, so there you go. So we're going to get to know these amazing authors, and don't worry, you'll get to know more about Chris and his chapter tomorrow night because he's in the lineup tomorrow night. But tonight we're going to get to know these other guys. And first up is Dom. Can I invite you to unmute, please?
Hi,
Thanks,
Karen.
Chris. Hey, Dom. How you going? Good?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Very well. Good. Yeah, it's a nice sunny Sunday with snow.
Oh, lovely. That's blissful. Where are you, Dom?
At the moment, I'm in Bedfordshire.
Bedfordshire. Lovely.
Just north of London.
Yeah, I'll just read the first few lines of your bio here so that people can get to know you. Dom Hawes' career has been varied, but a love of marketing, strategy, and deal making has provided the thread that has guided his development. He is currently CEO of marketing services group Selby Anderson. After a short and unsuccessful stint at university, Dom joined the British Army and was commissioned into the Blues and Royals. After completing 5 years' service as an officer, he executed a transition into the creative services industry, starting as a junior accountant executive at a London PR company. And to know the rest, you have to read the bio, guys. But Dom, Really fascinating. Your chapter is wonderful, and it is called Makers and Takers. But before we talk about your chapter, can you share with us what is your purpose?
Yeah, delighted to. My purpose, which only came late to me, is to build something that's going to last long, long, long beyond me. That rewards those who make and avoids those who take. I'm trying to build a business that helps companies that do good things win, basically, but also really importantly to take time doing it, because I spent 25 years of my life in a terrible hurry and I didn't really get to a destination. And one of my best friends, after the episode I talk about in the chapter, one of my best friends took me aside and said, Dom, you've spent decades trying to get rich quick. Why don't you try a different approach? Why don't you try and get rich slow? And that came after the collapse of the business I talk about in the chapter. And he was actually one of our larger creditors as well. So it was immensely kind of him to me at a time that I was feeling really damaged, that he came to me with probably some of the best advice I've ever been given. And it did come to me a bit like an epiphany, that you actually have to enjoy the journey of your career. It's not about a destination. It's the only one that you have. The richest thing is completely immaterial. I think the point of it is that if you are building something of lasting value, then you have to enjoy the journey, and it doesn't really matter how long it takes. That's kind of what really matters.
So you find your purpose through that fall that you had in your business. Would you say that, Dom?
Sorry, you cut out just a little bit there. Sorry.
Did it lead you to your purpose when your first business failed? Did it lead you then on to your purpose?
Well, it did actually. Yeah. So when something goes wrong, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a business or a personal, or I was lucky. Mine was just about financial loss. It wasn't about any other kind of loss. But when something does, there's an enormous amount of reflection, I think, needed after it to try and work it out and come to terms with it. And it probably took me 4 to 5 years, I think, to get there. And there was a kind of Kubler-Ross thing going on, what suddenly, because although the loss that I had, you could see coming, the actual collapse of it and what happened on collapse was a complete shock. I wasn't expecting it at all. And so it wasn't something that appeared immediately. I think the realizing of what purpose was for me took about 4 years of thinking, discussing. I mean, at one stage it was a daily discussion between me and my wife Nicola, who I mentioned in the chapter, where we'd just go back and say, right, what do we do wrong? How could this have gone so catastrophically wrong? And I think for a lot of that time, I was probably blaming other people for it. And there were other people who were involved in it who lost an awful lot. My chairman, Neil, who I'm delighted to say I'm still a good friend with, he lost more than me. Nicola lost more than me. But I was accountable, I think. And I think it took me 4 years for him to realize that. And it's once I realized, and actually, funny enough, the process of writing this chapter has been extraordinarily cathartic, and has helped me, I think, crystallize some of the thinking around that. So firstly, when Chris approached me about this, I knew I wanted to take part immediately, but I kind of wasn't sure why, if I'm honest, to start with, and I probably also wasn't sure which part of that process I wanted to share. Ultimately, in the chapter, I've decided to share it all, but it wasn't a simple decision, I don't think, because the business failure I talk about was so complete, and I didn't want to come across. I think I might, in retrospect, if I reread it, it may look like I'm blaming takers for what happened, but of course I'm the one that let them into my life. And the chapter ultimately, I think, is about the choices you make in life and who you choose to share those with. And it's a cautionary warning not to share them with people who make and take. And then I've referenced Adam Grant and a couple of others who have similar lines of thinking in this regard. So the process of writing this chapter really led me to identify, I guess, what that purpose was, or to be able to articulate it at least. I was already heading in that direction because life had led me there anyway. But without this process, I don't think I would have articulated it probably so clearly.
And it's amazing with this book and each of the chapters. I think one of our reviewers noted that each chapter could be a book in itself. And it really and truly could, and I have to admit, you can see the journey, and I know because I've also written a book that was a very lethargic, there's a lot of release in it, but whenever you're writing and you get that clarity through your writing, it's a real gift. So, and we had someone who journeyed as well when they wrote their piece yesterday. I think it was Tammy, had an unexpected self-development journey when she done her piece as well. Isn't it amazing, the journey that happens? Well, you've answered my second question, which was about your chapter, so thank you. But we have Philip has commented here, so I just want to go to that. Dom, thank you for sharing your brave truths. How did you maintain the key relationships after this business crisis? Very good question.
Yeah, well, my personal relationships, those with my wife, was solid anyway, because she's a very good person, is very understanding. On the business side, I didn't, is the honest answer. So those who were important to me, those who were makers, I was shown a lot of kindness by a few people, actually. I mean, really a lot of kindness. My twin brother Alex, my parents were really, really supportive. And once I'd sold the house, actually I put a spreadsheet together, worked out where the cheapest part of the country was to live. So I took a very analytical approach to how I was going to try and make a comeback. And then those people the makers that were out there, who understood probably where I was, just showed enormous kindness. Particularly Ben, who I mentioned, who gave me the advice earlier. When something goes wrong, and particularly a business goes wrong, I think there are all sorts of people who get damaged from it, and there's a ripple effect often. You often almost take down other people's businesses, and that was the case in this case. But even so, he showed enormous kindness, and a lot of other people did. So it's not something, Philip, that I consciously did, if I'm honest, because I wasn't really in a state to do it. So when everything went wrong, what happened was I was basically handed back the shell of the company and said, you now need to deal with this. And as a director, I had to live up to my responsibilities. And for 2 weeks, the administrator got on to me, and for 2 weeks, basically, I couldn't really go to bed. I just had to stay up for 2 weeks to get all the paperwork in place, because things had been left in a pretty shocking state. So we kind of supremely deprived, on top of everything else, I honestly wasn't in a good place to make any decisions at all. So from a personal point of view, Nicola made all our decisions for us. And then we literally, I pretty much went into hiding in Leicestershire for 4 years, actually. So yeah, it took a long time to get back.
Amazing journey from there to now where you are now. So I have to absolutely commend you. Amazing. Chris has come in with a question here. Thanks, Chris. Your chapter is unbelievably raw and open, Dom. You can't avoid the emotional impact as a reader. It's stunning. How long was it before you found yourself at peace with what happened within yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Honestly, I'm not still quite. There's still a little bit of me that is still left in the past there. But again, I can't remember who it was that told me that if you live in the past, you really never make any progress. So 99.9% recurring of that gone, of the past. But it's only, actually it was the process of putting Salvianus and my current company together. Once the pieces of the jigsaw were put into place. And an important part was that Simon, who and Ed, who we co-founded the business with, Simon's certainly been through a very similar experience to me, different but similar emotionally. And so when we set about creating this company, it was really important to us to explore the past in great detail and say, like, what happened then, and how are we going to avoid either being the people that did that to me or allowing that to happen to us this time. So we've very consciously, with this company, set about proving that you can do what we're doing, which is effectively a sort of a private equity type play, but without being like super cutthroat and malicious and all those horrible things. We are on a mission to prove that you can build something pretty substantial and long lasting by being the good people in the room. And so I think probably the process of creating this company solidified that.
Amazing. Awesome answer. So just finally, Dom, can you share with us your top tip for living a purposeful life?
Yes, yes. Well, I haven't got there yet. Come back in 3 years. So no, look, whatever you set your mind to do, take your time to think through what it's going to take to make it happen. Don't be in too much of a hurry, I think. So a very quick example. For example, outside work, I like to row, which I think I referenced in my biography. And 3 years ago, under the leadership of Kevin, who I mentioned there, Kevin Armstrong, we built a squad of older rowers, and we decided we were going to lead an assault on the British and World Masters Rowing Championships. So our purpose in that was really clear. And what Kev did, he said, A, it's not going to happen quickly, but he broke it down into 3 buckets of things that we'd need to do and made it really easy for us all to understand how to do that. So a couple of years later, 2019, we won the British Championships, came second in the World Masters Championships. And that's really, that was achieving the purpose that he'd set out, but it was about saying, don't rush it, understand what you need to do and be realistic about what it's going to take to get there. So if I was going to summarize that in one thing, I would say take time.
Yeah, that's shining through here to take the time and journey out. Thank you so much, Dom. Really amazing. And yeah, wonderful, Dom. Thank you so much. I'm going to invite Kate to come down and join me. Kate.
Hi, Karen.
Hello. How are you going? Good?
Really good, thank you. Yeah,
Good,
really
good.
excited to be here.
Oh, we're so delighted to have you here. It's like day 3. Yay, we've really built some beautiful momentum and we're getting to know more guys. Okay, so joining the army after graduating in classics from Oxford University, Kate was deployed on operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, where her leadership, decision-making, technical skill and adaptability were brutally tested in the fast-paced environment of frontline operations. Kate's tour of Afghanistan came to an abrupt end when injuries caused by an improvised explosive device resulted in her electing to have her leg amputated below the knee, becoming the first British female to lose a limb in combat. Wow, it's just so powerful, Kate. I'm not going to go on, but Kate, your chapter is called Leadership by the Little Things, which I adore that title. It's just so beautiful. Can you share, before we talk about your chapter, can you share with us what is your purpose?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks, Karen. My purpose broadly is based around people. For as long as I can remember, I've just been fascinated by people. I love meeting new people. Over the years, I've been lucky enough to collect a host of different friends from all different walks of life, and I feel very lucky. And so I knew from a young age that I wanted to do something in my life that really involved working with people, and that meant more to me than just sitting at a desk next to them. And so the army was a really sort of natural career choice to sort of pursue that purpose. And it also helped that I loved sort of the physical challenge as well as the mental one. I mean, I grew up with 2 older brothers who I frantically tried to keep up with, running around making dens in the woods and that kind of thing. So yeah, the army was a great fit for me. And what I loved most about the army, I mean, I had some amazing experiences over 13 years of service in the Royal Artillery, and deployed in operations to Iraq and Afghanistan, and organised adventure training expeditions, and had the honour of firing royal gun salutes for occasions like the Queen's birthday. So lots of very exciting, memorable, some terrifying experiences, but all that I'm very lucky to bring with me. But the one constant throughout all of that change was the people. And anyone here, on this call who has served knows what a privilege it is to command soldiers. And what I love most was helping them understand and release their potential. So, classically getting a young 17-year-old coming in for their first interview with you as their troop commander, and they think they have nothing to offer. They're lacking in confidence. They've probably left school with little to no qualifications. They might have no real sort of family support, and they found themselves in your office, and just gradually taking them on that journey to equip them with some skills, and with that comes some confidence, and they realize that actually they've got something to contribute and they're adding value, was just an absolute wonder, and that's what I loved. So when I left the army in 2015, I knew that I wanted to carry on doing that, which is why I went into coaching. And really the purpose therefore is about helping to remove barriers, and opening up the path of possibility to people, and they find it for themselves, but I'm just there to sort of provide a guiding hand.
Well, that's the purpose, hey? Amazing. You can see where the foundation of it comes through, and and you've led on, and just to see people light up and see the potential in them that they don't see in themselves. Amazing. So let's talk about your chapter, Leadership by the Little Things. Can you share with us some things about it without sharing it all?
Yeah, no big giveaways. Well, one thing I say about it is that it's something that I've sort of referred to, this notion of the little ways in which you can demonstrate leadership. I've referred to it a number of times. I do a lot of speaking work as well. But I always thought it was just such a really small subject in itself. And so when Chris very kindly offered me the opportunity to contribute a chapter, he was one of the people I went to and said, well, this is what I'm thinking about, but is it enough? Is there a chapter there? And as Chris always is, he was hugely encouraging. And the idea of it really is back to being interested in people. It's about making a human connection. So there are a number of things that I should talk about, but if as a leader, it's knowing your people as people. So understanding the little things about them. So not just who they are when they present themselves at work, but who are they as a wider person. And it's the really simple things that we probably all know about, and I've seen a lot of people do, but I've also seen a lot of people not do it. And I think it's a real shame, because I think people are really missing out. So reminding people of the little ways in which you can lead yourself well, I suppose, would be a way of putting it. So I opened the chapter, and I know Mum's on the call, so I'm giving her a shout out now, but I opened the chapter with a little thank you goes a long way, which is something that Mum's drummed into me since I can remember. And it's so true that the impact you can have just by thanking someone for something they've done is huge.
I was going to touch on that and the gratitude aspect, and gratitude may in many people's minds be small, but it has a big impact, doesn't it, Kate? And obviously because you've used it as your subtitle, that the impact that it has.
No, it really does. And I'm sort of sitting here looking at a thank you card that my godson sent me a couple of days ago, and that just fills my heart and makes me beam, I know that his mum will have encouraged him to do it and have mine, all the rest of it, so there's a lot more that's gone into it than just the card with the writing on that I've received.
Absolutely. Kate, can I ask you, can you share with us your top tip for living a positive life? Or positive, purposeful life? I'm just thinking positively here.
Absolutely, I'm with you. It's really interesting thinking about this, because I think the word purpose, it carries quite a lot of weight to it. And I think it can be quite scary for people. And, you can think about the Simon Sinek, find your why, but even that little 3-letter word is hugely impactful. And it can really make you kind of think, oh my goodness, I've no idea. So my tip is to start small. And it's similar to what quite a few of the other authors have said, in terms of it being a journey and it being gradual and perhaps not realizing for years. So you don't have to have found your purpose by the time you left school or in your first job interview, or you got married and had kids, whatever. Your purpose might develop over time. But I think as long as you understand what your values are, what's important to you, and really trust your gut to follow that, conduct yourself to act according to your values, then you will find little ways of being purposeful. So I suppose it ties in with my chapter really, in that start small, and see where it takes you.
That's a very important message, because there's no age on that, isn't there not? It happens when it's time that.
Exactly.
Chris has got a question for you here. I see him intently writing, you see, so I just wait for it to come through. I love it. They will forget what you
None of us
say.
are getting away.
You're not getting away. They will forget what you say and what you did, but never how you made them feel. That's so powerful. Kate's chapter just reinforces those words by Mary Angelo and reminds us that it is all about genuinely understanding other people, taking that time. What would Kate say is the best way to learn those little things that are important?
Well, I think listening to other people, so working out who your role models are, who do you look at and think that they demonstrate those little purposeful ways on a sort of daily basis, so that it's kind of ingrained and it's part of their natural behaviour. And as I said in my chapter, my role models tend to be the people that I know and often love, rather than people up on a stage somewhere who I haven't got a personal connection with. So I would listen and look and watch other people and find out what you can take from them that works for you.
Amazing, wonderful. And Philip says, Kate, I'm so pleased that Chris convinced you to share your story.
Thanks,
and,
Phil.
And just to finish off, your mum must not have found the chat box. we haven't got it's okay, you can come and join in the chat.
She's probably panicking right now, going, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to contribute and I don't know where the chat box is, but
it's okay, Mum, don't worry, it's fine. Oh, okay, thank you so much. I have to admit, I just really enjoyed that, because it just is amazing. Just nice to go there with your mind and to just embrace all of that, because it's just so important. It is just so important in leadership that people have those values. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen.
I'd like to invite Kat to unmute and come and join me. Hello, Kat.
Hello, Karen.
At least you're able to talk, Kat. We were chatting earlier and my microphone wasn't working. Can you imagine not being able to hear me the whole time? Hey, it could be heaven. I'm just going to read the first little paragraph of your bio here, Kat. With an extensive history in senior management roles in the biotech pharmaceutical industry, as well as working in the wide range of organizations from startups to publicly owned companies, Kat's driving passion is to see businesses reach their true potential, inspiring them to recognize that effective leadership is the key to achieving goals and blue skies possibilities. That's powerful. Hey, Kat. And your chapter, I love the title of your chapter, so I'm just going to read it, sorry. How good is the oxygen in your mask? In fact, where is your mask? That just gets us thinking straight away. But before we go there, I'd love for you to share with us what your purpose is, Kat.
Sure, and thank you very much for inviting me, Karen. It's lovely to be here. So the question got me thinking, and a couple of the panelists have already been talking today about a journey. And I think one of the things that I'd like to highlight is it's probably okay to not know your purpose perfectly. And it's probably okay to have it change a little bit over time. So I was trying to kind of find the common thread for me as to what is my purpose since I started in a senior role, and what is it now, and is it still the same? And the thing that I was kind of able to drill down on, I think, was, for me, it's always been about some form of added value. And I think in my more corporate life, that was a bit more tangible, it was more transactional. I worked in a specific industry sector, as you said there, in life sciences, and in a specific niche area, which was intellectual property. And I like that I could provide that kind of clarity and understanding to that sector, to strategize what they might actually need, because it's a bit of an ill-defined area and people know it's expensive, but they don't necessarily know what to do with it. And it was actually much later, and a kind of chance encounter whilst I was looking for some non-exec positions, that I came across the world's largest and leading executive organisation, an organisation called Vistage. And what that gave me the opportunity to do was add value to just a much wider range of people in far greater number of sectors and industries. But I think that was the common thread coming through it. So, like I said before, less consultancy, less transactional, and more whole person. So my role now as a coach and mentor has allowed me to help people become what I'd like to think of them as just the best version of themselves, and more purposeful in their own decision making and choices for the life that they want to lead and who they want to be. So I think the reason I like what I do is that I think too often we allow external influences to guide us and make decisions for us, you know, whether that's expectations of others, or whether it's a certain amount of money that people need, or a nervousness to make a change or do something different. We need to be able to determine our own path, and not have those external influences completely drive us. And I think, you know, it's up to you the path you choose. And coaching is obviously a large part of helping people decide what that path should look like. And if I can help somebody on that journey, even in the smallest of ways, then that is what lights me up. That is what gets me out of bed in the morning. And I'm also a huge advocate of what I'll call, say, personal development, I guess, and lifelong learning. So I consider that to be a key driver in both personal and business success, to keep learning, to have that, what I call, constant quest for knowledge. And again, you know, as a Vistage chair, we promote an awful lot of peer-to-peer sharing of ideas and stories, and that's an opportunity to be able to do that. And I think when Chris first contacted me, that's what tweaked my interest about that sharing piece. Because when he first contacted me, I thought, why has he phoned me? And what am I going to talk about? So I think a few of the people who were smiling on the call obviously had that same kind of feeling. And I thought, well, I love the idea of getting such a wide variety of people together and to be bound by this single topic of purpose. We've all got vastly different stories to share. We've got wisdoms to impart. So I think, you know, often those best shares, they're not the best practice sharing. It's the war stories, isn't it? And yeah, as I said, Chris has gathered such an amazing group of these impressive people from this international stage, and somehow I've snuck in at the side. And yeah, and it ticks my purpose. Perhaps I didn't know it when he first made contact, but you know, when you asked me to think about this, I thought, yeah, it does actually all tie together quite nicely. So that's good, I guess. That's a good thing.
It is absolutely a good thing. Well, you talk my talk, I tell you. You know, adding value to people, that is an absolute golden purpose, you know, and you can see that in how it lights you up. It's just you can just see it in everything that you're speaking about there. No matter what industry you're in, it would just be about adding value, and that just shines through. So let's talk about your chapter, Kat. You know, don't give it all away. Just share some, you know, some insights into it.
Yeah, no spoilers. Okay, so as I've said already, I work predominantly as a coach with senior executives and business leaders. So I tried to think about something that I could write about that was close to my heart. And it's funny that on today's call, people have said journey a couple of times. And I think the point of my co-authors is that they talk about finding purpose, whether that's in yourself or in your teams or in your business. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was it is a journey, and on that path to purposefulness, and also then to stay purposeful when you found your niche and your passion, is to make sure that you look after yourself along the way, and that you sometimes might need to take that step back. I want people to avoid burnout, and it's that level of self-care that I really wanted to touch on. So I talk about something called wise selfishness in the book, and I guess some people might kind of bristle a little bit at the word when they first hear it, because obviously selfish isn't supposed to be a good thing, and I would advocate that. I totally understand where that comes from, but it's more about making sure that you're okay, so that then you can make sure that those around you are okay. And that can be friends, family, loved ones, it could be colleagues, it could be staff members, it could even be your wider community. But to do that, you're going to have to make sure that you're okay first. And that's where the rather strange title of my book comes, because of the chapter rather comes, because it is about the analogy of putting your own oxygen mask on first in order to help those around you. So yes, a little strange title, but that's where it came from. So the idea, I guess, is that I've collated a lot of top tips and ideas over the years that I've been working with these senior executives, and making sure that the quality of the oxygen in that mask is good. And that is actually something you've got control over. So not only are we going to put the oxygen mask on first, we're going to make sure that the quality in that mask is as good as it can be. So I talk about work-life blend. I talk about what I call joyful buckets. I've got a little bit in there about the plastic toy called Buckaroo, but you have to buy the book and read the chapter to work out why I'm talking to you about that. I talk about tackling stress and having time outs and being kind to yourself. So I think what I really want is just plenty of things for people to think about when it comes to looking after what I call team you.
we should start a movement on this, shouldn't we, Kat? Because I'm forever vocalizing, you know, like I always say to give my best to my kids, to my you know, it is about taking care of me first so that my cup is full so that I can pour into other people's. And I come from Ireland, so I know what it's like if you put other people before yourself. But that's the wrong way around, and that's why I so appreciate your chapter and the message that you have in it. It's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's not an easy thing to do, and some people, you know, take to it really easily, and some people just battle it the whole time.
Goes against your yeah, it goes against what you've been taught.
It does. It does.
It does. We've got some comments here, so I'm going to have to. Chris says every single author in this book, without exception, have said to me at some point that they feel like an outlier or don't deserve a place in the book. And like, I can't believe this because it just comes together so well, you know, from my perspective, which only reinforces that they are perfect for the book. That's it.
Thanks.
There you go, Chris. Awesome. And let me just scroll down here. Oh, wrong one. Scroll down here. Such a hard thing to do. Who's this? This Chris? Such a hard thing to do, Kat. I get how important it is, but I think we all struggle with any sense of priority to ourselves. How can we help ourselves feel more comfortable with supporting Team You? Did you read the chapter, Chris?
Yeah, and there's lots of tips and thoughts in there, but I think taking the wider approach, it's the first thing to acknowledge, I think, is that it is okay to be on Team You. And you might need some help with that, and you might need some people around you to remind you that it's important to look after yourself, because it doesn't always come naturally when we're always putting others in, you know, ahead of ourselves. But the title of the chapter and the analogy that fits around the oxygen mask is the best one I can give you for that answer, really, is to say that imagine if you didn't put your own oxygen mask on first. You know, take the visualization to the extreme, and maybe you get to save 1 or 2 people off the plane. Put your own mask on first, maybe you save the plane. So it's just, I think it's just that acknowledgement that we need to have concepts like wise selfishness and Team You in our vocabulary, in our lives and in the people around us, so that we know that it is okay to do that. And I'm not advocating in any sense to be selfish, but that wise selfishness piece is different. And without it, you're going to be not as much fun to be around. You know, you're not going to be enjoying your own journey. Imagine if you were just a nicer person to be around and helpful to people to, you know, around you as well. It's a win-win, I think. But it does require that acknowledgement that we might just have to just every now and again just put that spotlight on ourselves, even if it's just for 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it might be that needs to top up your own buckets. And again, you know, you can read about that in the chapter. So.
Yeah, I'm on Team Cat.
So there you go, that works.
Philip says here, love the Team You idea. Kat, what do you do to look after yourself on a daily basis?
So one of the reasons that I wanted to write about this is that I used to be really rubbish at this, and I'm still a work in progress. So I hold my hands up and say, you know, we're all on a journey of learning with things like this, and I could no doubt be a lot better than I am. But some of the things that I do, well, 2 things I'll highlight. So one is that I have my own personal health and wellbeing officer, also known as my sister. She knows me brilliantly, she knows me well, and she knows when I'm not doing the things I should be doing to look after myself. So she is appointed with that title, and she'll be able to call me a timeout if something's not going the way it should be, or work too hard, work too late, whatever it might be. So I think that's a great idea, to have somebody around you that can say, hey, you know, you said you wanted to be better at this, so I'm just going to call it out, and maybe you're not doing such a great thing. And another just a recent example is I put together a cat winter care plan. So winter was coming, it was all looking a bit depressive. It was all, you know, we're all in lockdown, and now it's not just the summer anymore where we can go and have walks. It's all cold, wet and horrible. So what do I need to light up my life? You know, what food do I need to make? Which candles do I need to burn? Which snuggly thing do I need to climb underneath? So again, it's just having those little things that are, you know, bit twee, bit quaint, but they work for me. And one of the things about Team You is that no one else gets to decide. It doesn't matter if the thing that lights you up is an 80 cheesy movie, or something that a particular food that you like to eat, or a person you want to spend time with. It's entirely down to you, and no one gets to choose, and no one gets to judge. So whatever it is that lights you up, make sure you know what it is and do more of it. So those would be my my thoughts around that.
It's as simple as that. Hey, Philip, we want to hear how you're getting on with that. Keep us posted. Well, I'm just going to share that my health and well-being officer is actually the person who's commented next, which is my sister Emma, who's over in Ireland. And she says, so true, we cannot pour from an empty cup. And I am also her health and well-being officer. So there you go. I love that one. You're getting a thumbs up from Dom. Oh my goodness, Kat, you give us so many tips. Do you want to give us any more?
The one thing I thought I'd kind of end on, I guess, is that I'm a really big, the passion for me is people to have big dreams, big ambitions. I really want people to do exciting and fabulous things for themselves and their businesses. I want people to achieve what they want to achieve. But at the same time, I really want those people to remember that we're not goal crunching machines. So, you know, to maintain that good output rate from a work point of view, but also to enjoy what I refer to as the work-life blend, it does require you to look after yourselves. So I guess here's my top tip: buy the book, and then you can read the chapter and everybody else's, and they'll, you know, just find one thing in there that really fits for you, and find the time to do the things that, you know, will fill you up, will light you up, and make sure that you enjoy your journey and not just the destination.
She was so told to say that. Thank you, Kat. Amazing. I love that. I loved, there's just a synergy there. I just get it. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for your contribution. I'm going to ask Jamie, can you come and join me, please?
And indeed, I'm just going to keep mine simple. What she said.
We're all the same, isn't it? It's like, wow.
what she said.
I'm sorry, you're not getting away with that. Sorry, we're going in.
Beautiful Kat. I thought that was excellent. Everyone have been brilliant.
Everyone's been. There's like, even throughout the three days, there's just this woven, you know, everybody connects. It's amazing. It all comes from the same essence, which is one of the beautiful things in this book to read, but also to get to know you all. Everyone comes from the same place, and that's because you're obviously in Chris's circle, and he only has the best around him. So let me read the first little chapter of your bio here, Jamie. From humble beginnings in the South Wales valleys to a multi-million pound sale of energy company RUMM, Jamie is now supporting a portfolio of 7 new businesses through his investment vehicle, Blue Sky Equity. Passion and motivation to give back and help others have formed the pillars of Jamie's life. And you can actually just feel that energy coming from you, Jamie, in everything that you do and comment on in everything. And your chapter is called Mind and Body, Making the Connection. But before we talk about it, can we talk about your purpose, please?
Yeah, it's a good one, that is, Karen. Firstly, thanks for you to showing up. I know it's obviously late in Australia, so very much appreciated. And Chris, for doing what you do, absolutely fantastic. So I'm still learning my purpose, I think, along the way. You know, I'm still learning. All the guys have said, you know, what Dom have said, I think it resonates. The journey's the destination. And I go back to when I was very young, doing what I was doing as playing snooker, not doing very much in school. And I woke up, I think, at 19, sat on the edge of a production line thinking, I need to do more, after bumming about in McDonald's. And I woke up. It was hard. It was a hard process. I went back to university, do an ONC, HNC degree and a master's in computing whilst working. It was a challenge, but I didn't know my purpose then. It was always about the music. I loved the music. It was right in my DNA from the beginning. I'm wind the clock forward, fortunate to be involved with a number of beautiful businesses like the Wales Defected and some festivals in Wales. So I didn't really know my purpose. And I think what Dom have picked up on, which I think is really powerful, what he's learned over the last 4 or 5 years, I guess, is what I've learned after selling rum. To your point, I've built and sold 3 businesses, 5, 6 and 8 figures, and didn't know for what. You know, what was I doing? I had a millionaire determination. I was going to do that before I was 40. I did it. But I guess I woke up and I listened to a podcast yesterday, actually, Rhonda Byrne, and she spoke about everybody needs to try and get what they want. And then you realize that's not it. And I think that was a realization for me at 39. I'd climbed the top of the mountain. I'd achieved what I wanted. And I looked around and I thought, this is not it. You know, my dad had just had bladder cancer. My wife's dad had dementia. My body and mind were totally out of discord. I thought I was physically fit. I wasn't. In parallel to that, I was running the London Marathon. I wasn't fit. I broke my back. I had pars defect, and I was in a dark place and tried to have to come through that. And in my book, I talk about the journey of body and mind being connected. And my entry point was through yoga. I went and see my consultant, and he said, you need to get your core strong now, your abs, you need to get your core strong. And that was the entry point. I had a one-to-one with my yoga teacher. That was the entry point into meditation, talking about the breath. And I just woke up. I woke up, and I think, like Dom, after exiting out of the business we sold, which was my baby, for nearly 17 years, I did a lot of soul searching for 6 months, I guess. Lots of just time reflecting. And where I came to was music, meditation, and mud. And that's what my mind was. It was about trying to help others with the knowledge and insight that perhaps I was gaining. And I was only 40, I'm only 45 now, so I'm learning. I'm still learning my why, but I'm starting to understand my why with clarity. And that's around, music has always been in my DNA right from the beginning. You know, tried to make some music on a PlayStation at 14, have my own night at 17. And I'm really blessed to work with some wonderful people in the music scene now. I've invested in the business at Debbie House about 8 years ago. Involved with Defected, Simon Dunmore, great being, great team, and some music festivals. So I look back, and when I stop and reflect, it's my why to help others, shading through the positivity through the music, and meditation with what I'm doing with the top on today, Sampton. So I think I'm learning. It's a very long answer, but I think, you know, Kate picked up on Simon Sinek. I'm a big fan of him, and to see that we were next to him on the books was just ridiculous. You know, his first book Starts With Why, second book Leaders Lead Last, third book The Infinite Game. And I think what he talks about is when you find your why, when you light your passion, you wake up, you don't work another day in your life. And I think that's what it feels like when you can get there. And I just hope I can live another 40 years to give back and to provide my knowledge and insight and wisdom I've learned over the last 6 years in the wake-up process. And I close my chapter, without giving too much away, through waking up through meditation, is that we learn to understand that we are not our thoughts and feelings. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts every day. You 7, or you 6 rather, plus the 7.5 billion people on Earth. And when you realize and work up the process that we are free, we're the observer, that's a wonderful feeling. So that's my purpose, is to try and help others. Kat have, you know, perfectly articulated. First, love yourself. So put your mask on, get yourself fit. And I've done that. I give quite a few tips in the book to look after yourself so you can then look after others. So I'm learning my why, I'm learning my passion, and I'm humbled to be asked to be part of this project. It was the last time we went out. I was going to say drunk, Chris. We didn't get drunk, we had a few beers. So thank you for inviting me. And I got to be fair, I read the book in electronic format, and I had a tear. It's so powerful. Everybody's individual story, you know, is so powerful. Dom and what he's done, and the humbling and exposing exactly what happened and what he did going forward. Kate of what she's done, absolutely incredible, leading these people having a leg amputated and continuing, just beautiful. You know, what everyone have done. So I'm really humbled to be part of such an incredible project. Thank you.
It's so amazing. And one of the things that comes through for me with this launching is that, can you imagine when everybody gets the opportunity to come together in a room? Wow, that's just going to be so high energy. Everybody's absolutely connected. It's like everyone's a family now because they're in this book together. And I absolutely adore that. Mark Tonks says here, look after yourself, look out for others, and show humility. Not a bad combination, and a blueprint for great leadership. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think that's what it's about, guys. And I think, again, great comment from Simon Sinek. You know, leadership is not about, you know, being in charge. It's looking after those in our charge. And I think that's the reality of the situation. There's two ways to lead, and I've learned this, and I've learned from some of the best people. You know, I've had a great chairman who used to scream at me, and to your point, Dom, slow down, Jamie, slow down, slow down. I'd be 400 miles an hour, working 80 to 100 hours, traveling the UK, Europe, US. And I didn't understand it. You know, he took a business from 200 million to £1 billion. And now I understand it. And rest in peace, he's now not with us. He passed last year. But I thank him daily for the insight, the knowledge, and the wisdom he gave me. And I got so many great people around me that have given me the insights and knowledge. And I just want to try and give that back. And I think leading, you can lead with two ways, either with ego or you can lead with heart. They're very different. And I think when you lead with heart, that's where you really make a difference. And that's our purpose, to come back to, my bigger picture purpose is Sampton is a project that we've set up. It's a give back project. It's great. It's one of these 4 charities that we're giving back. And the reason I set that up is to try and help change the world one breath at a time. Pretty big, grand statement, but that's our purpose. 5 years in, not being paid a penny, 6 figures invested in, and we're just on the cusp of launching version 2 of the app in 2 weeks. It's been the most challenging thing I've ever had to do, but we have the real deal. We've got Gelong Tupton, who's a world-renowned Buddhist monk, New York Times bestseller, and we're going to launch the new. It's night and day. It's night and day to what we're doing. And we've taken a number of investment rounds, and we're ready to serve. And COVID have just accelerated the process. The next big pandemic we got on our hands is mental health. And what we have with Sampton is something to help. It's free to children. It's going to be free to a lot of people. And that's our purpose.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to know about Sampton. We have to have it in our conversations moving forward, I believe. Chris says here, wonderful energy, Jamie. Love that you are not the product of your thoughts and feelings, and being an observer to free yourself. There you go. And one of the things that I absolutely adore is when you awaken, what you're talking about, whenever, Simon Sinek, when you awaken, you don't ever work a day in your life. But you also go on a mission that you want everybody to know what that feels like, don't you? If they're not there yet, you want to help pull them up to that place. And I see that in you, Jamie, very much so, that you're there. And it's amazing.
I try, Karen. I fell down so many times. I fail every day. Let's be clear. I fail every day, but I try to get back up one more time. My knees are grazed. It's a hard journey. I got a portfolio of businesses. And I'm really grateful for some incredibly great people around me, But I just like to say that I was just having a chat with the guys who we invested in the festival businesses, and as we grow the business, start to scale, the overhead becomes bigger, and that's a challenge. And when I was in Rum, it was a spin out from a university. We had 2 people. All of a sudden, we got 45 people in the business, and the overhead is like 130 grand a month. And I'm thinking, how did this happen? Like, you go into bed thinking, how am I going to find these wages? But you find a way. I think if you've got a will to win, a desire to, really push on, then you find a way. But it's not easy. Entrepreneurship is not easy. Otherwise, everyone would do it. Having your own business, you fall down so many times, and it's hard. But I think if you can really connect to your passion, then it doesn't feel like work. And that's what makes a difference. But there's a difference. And what I've learned is working hard and working smart, being very strategic in what you do and why you do it. And that's why I do a lot of businesses. I focus on the strategy, get the strategy right, understand what you're doing, hold the vision, trust the process, get the people right, get the process right, and the rest will take care of itself. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
That sounds like a tip for a purposeful life there. Is that your tip for purposeful life, Jamie?
Well, I put a couple of tips in my book, and I'll give away a huge amount of detail, but I think I pick up on Kat's point because it really does resonate. First, look after yourself. Get yourself firing, sleep well. And that's what I've learned a lot over the last 12 months. I'm now 8 months having no drink. I made a commitment on the 26th of August to not drink. I wanted to up my game in terms of my routine, and I feel so much better for it. I bought an Aura ring, which tracks your sleep. It's a really great tool. I touched on that yesterday. It's a super tool. I would strongly recommend buying one because it gives you some clarity on your sleep and your heart rate variability and all that kind of good stuff. But getting a routine, eating good food, reducing alcohol, obviously reducing caffeine, and just embodying that day by day. Because as Kat said, first look after yourself, then you're going to look after others.
Amazing. Yeah, and that's the ring that you were talking about yesterday in the comments. I see that. Yeah, amazing. Such a good tip. Tim Wiggum, who is also an author in this book, has said, 3rd author webinar, and I am absolutely overwhelmed by the caliber and candor of this cohort. The insights, ideas, and humility and humor, it all resonates, Jamie, and every author speaks with such passion. So I have to scroll.
That's wonderful. And I think for me, my kids keep it real. You know, my kids just keep it real day to day. They make me understand that don't take it so serious. And I couldn't do this without my wife. She's my check and balance. She's my non-exec. She's my everything. We've been together 25 years. I couldn't do what I do genuinely without her. You know, my mother and father have been amazing, you know, putting up with me. I was a nightmare back in the day. But I've tried to learn to become a better person, a better individual, a better father, a better brother, all this kind of stuff. And the reason that I tried to do that is through meditation, because that allows you so many beautiful benefits. And I couldn't stress it strong enough. Something is going to come in a new package. And for anybody on this call, part of the book, you know, we would love to, you know, provide the app to you. It really is a game changer.
Wonderful, amazing. Thank you so much, Jamie. I was looking forward to our conversation, and it went there. So thank you so much. Really grateful. I'm going to invite Chris to unmute and come and join me, Chris. Yay!
Oh, how are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
Yeah, I've got to be truthful. I'm a little bit moved by all of this, because it's pretty fab. And this whole project for me has been, again, like a few people have said, a bit of a discovery, and just chatting things through. It's genuinely quite emotional. So thank you very much for letting me be part of this. And Chris, from my perspective, you know, I'd be happy with a place in the end notes, I think, you know, but to have made it into the book itself is pretty fab. So thank you very much.
And not only are you in the book, you are a finale chapter. So, you know, you're the person who ends the book. We started off on a high and ended on a high, I absolutely believe. So thank you so much for that. And tonight you're ending the call tonight as well. But I'm just going to read a line or two into your bio, if that's okay, Chris, just so people can get to know you a little bit better. At his heart, Chris is a curious soul who grew up late. A Northern Irish self-confessed extroverted introvert, he slowly realised that working in support of others and being a network glue brought both personal and professional satisfaction. This and early achievements in team sports seated him in the belief that diverse perspectives and collaboration usually lead to better outcomes. Is that not a lead in to an amazing conversation? Absolutely. So your chapter is about network and the collective brain, Chris. Yes. But before that, can we talk about your purpose, please? I would love to have some insight into your purpose.
Surely. And again, the joy of going last is I get to repeat everything that other people have said before. But yeah, look, purpose is an ongoing, growing thing. But I guess at its very heart, what I love doing is helping put people together, and I love, you know, Kat and Kate and everyone's talked about the little light up moments you see when you put people together from different backgrounds, different situations, whether that's from technology into technology, or whether that's from different background to different background. And my personal sort of joy in life is in doing exactly that, is connecting those little dots, and sometimes just standing back and letting people have a chat and, you know, sort of find what's interesting. You're absolutely right. Fundamentally, you know, better diversity and better sort of perspectives from networks, I think, lead to better answers to some of the harder challenges that we find ourselves with, and also from the day-to-day thing. And you know, as you mentioned as well, Karen, sort of coming from Northern Ireland, self-deprecation, not putting oneself forward as a big cheese or as an expert or whatever like that, you know, is a challenging thing to do. So this is an odd, you know, it's an odd kind of framing for me as an experience. But fundamentally, if we can, I believe we're better together than we are apart, you know. So like, I mean, I think yes, growing up in Northern Ireland certainly played a part in that. You know, it was a strange society that only becomes stranger, I think, with my growing, if you like, separation from it. So I've been in England for since 1998, came across university there, and I sort of never gone back, although I've, you know, friends and family still there, and I, you know, like I do go back every now and again, you know, to catch up with folks, and it's changed a lot. And unfortunately, obviously, we're seeing some of the recurrences of some of the old bad behaviours at the minute, you know, which is a bit crap to see. We are better off together than not. You know, my initial sort of introduction, or my initial kind of real formative experience for that was really through sports. So my dad was a selector for Ireland rugby for 7 years, and sport and rugby was the be all and end all for me as a kid. It was fantastic. I got some great experiences brought down. I was dragged through the changing rooms of Lansdowne Road, sat in touchline seats watching these guys, absolute heroes to me, and absolutely loved it. The concept that in rugby you had an Irish rugby team, and in football you had a Northern Irish football team and then a Republic of Ireland football team was just strange to me, and I didn't like it very much. And that, I think, has played a very strong part in forming what has become more of my purpose, which is again about pulling people together rather than separating people. So, giving people credit where it's due, if you like, and not turning around and pretending to be the expert, but saying I can glue you together was of itself a learning experience for me. So, again, growing up in a company called Capita, massive outsourcing company, grew from 8,500 people to 85,000 people when I left. I was there for 15 years. The challenge for me was accepting that everything I'd grown up with, I was the eldest child, I was going to go to Oxford, I was going to go and do law. I went to Nottingham, I did law, but then I was going to become sort of crack on, be a partner, all the rest of that kind of stuff was bred into me. My whole family were lawyers, and so like the idea that your personal knowledge and what you know is the end point, if you like, is the sort of people come to you because you know a thing. And actually that took a long time for me to get my head around. Was that I was suddenly in this company surrounded by really, really bright people who knew all about local government and health and finance and pensions and HR and education, all of these kind of things. And I wasn't the expert, but what I was, I guess, was curious. And what I sort of became was a very helpful person to understand and know, because I could point people in the right directions. And again, this took me a long time to get my head around that being of value rather than having all the knowledge in your head value.
Absolutely. Wow. I just love listening to that, Chris. And it is, I can absolutely identify with what you're saying, because I also too grew up in Northern Ireland, and, you don't want to stand out. And yet here we are, we've grown up and going out and moved and standing out, and showing up. And in your bio where you say about the extroverted and introverted, the both there, that yes. harmony between both is absolutely beautiful. But the collective, the power in the collective, we can see it in this book. We can see it when the focus is on the collective and the strength, and pulling everybody's individual strengths together, what that yes. can create. That's a powerful thing, isn't it? So let's talk about that, and then also about networks and the collective brain.
Oh, no, absolutely. And it is the most powerful thing. That's my personal belief, if you like. It is absolutely at the core of, what I write about. But, I'm an inveterate linker, and you can prepare all you want for sessions like this or whatever, but, you always end up going like, oh, I like that bit, I like that bit. And, sort of Dom's bit about, in his chapter where he talks about sort of the seeking approval from things being a blocker and a kind of a barrier in the way, it resonates enormously. Looking after yourself, learning to like yourself a little bit more. I again, as the eldest son of the family, to grow up and sort of go off to university and do law and all that, I grew up far too quickly in one way, insofar as on the outside, yes, I went out, and then I got married young and had kids and had a house and all that kind of stuff. But I knew nothing about myself, really, because I was forever deferring to others, if you like. Now, moving on, different relationships set up, everything like that, it's become enormously easier for me to understand a little bit more about myself and what I am, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and I work with people, and I am very fortunate to be with somebody who is the best listener in the world, and has helped me become a better listener, a better dad, better work partner, all of that kind of stuff. So it's a really interesting journey, if you like. It's all a journey.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, like in terms of the book, I grew up, as I say, sort of like in a company where putting people together was my thing. I was given the freedom to be able to do that. I was enormously, fortunate not to have a job title for 15 years while I was there. So it just depended on who you wanted. I could be who you wanted to, but that also gives you the freedom to turn around and ask naive questions. You're not expected to be an authority of things, and if you can ask naive questions of people, then frankly you can learn a lot more. You also give a little bit more of yourself because you're being authentic, because actually, pretending you know stuff when you don't is one of the worst things that I certainly did when I was younger. And I've learned to kind of just step back and let people who really know what they're talking about talk about things. And
people can see through that, can't they, Chris? That's the transparency,
absolutely.
the authenticity. Yeah.
Absolutely, and the joy and the freedom that comes with actually being yourself, and chipping in where you know your stuff and admit that is part of things. And again, it's one of the bits I talk about a little bit in the book is, it's not about networking per se. There's plenty of books out there that are super at that, but what I talk about a little bit really is opening yourself up to the power of the network. And you can only do that if you actually admit to yourself that you don't know everything. And if you do that, then you're off to the races. And also, these networks don't have to belong to you per se. There are networks out there, accelerators, universities, education systems of all sorts, this kind of thing, LinkedIn, Vistage, CAT, like these are all networks of people who are there to and they have the specific areas of expertise. They're there to help you do specific things. So use them, tap into them, admit you don't know what you don't know first, and then you can go from there. And that's probably the biggest learn for me, if you like. Yeah.
Awesome. To access other networks to widen your network and your collective. Amazing, wonderful. Chris, can you give us your top tip for living a purposeful life, please?
Sure. So I think okay, yes. So number one, learn that you don't have to know everything to be of value to people. Get comfortable early, as early as you can do, with the fact that you don't know everything as societies, organizations, individuals, and neither are we expected to. So actually letting people, give of themselves to you is one of the best ways to form any kind of relationship. And then secondly, don't, I guess, live to other people's expectations. I think everyone here has sort of done that to a greater or lesser degree. And the ills that befall us when we seek approval and where we live for or on behalf of others, a lot can be traced back to that. So if you're genuine about what you want to do, if you understand a path that makes you happy, as Jamie said, it's about how you get there. It's about an understanding of the direction you want to travel, the broad themes that contribute to that. That's what you need to be comfortable with. Is not having a kind of set in stone, this is the thing I have to do. I had a strange thing in my head growing up that 23 was going to be the age that I had it all sorted out, which is a fabulously ridiculous way to look at the world, but it was a real thing in my head, and so I went and did that and made lots of poor choices as a result. But learn that you don't know everything, be open to others, and enjoy yourself along the way.
Perfect tip. Hey, 23 is pretty old when you're like 15, isn't it?
Oh, it's everything, isn't it? Exactly. It's hysterical because I've got now. So we got blended family, 2 10-year-old girls who both do it well. One of who's just got a phone, and the whole kind of like, oh my god, it's amazing. Yeah. trying to shift away from, oh my, just stop. You don't need that crap in your life right now. Yeah. It was a lovely, and I would recommend this. There's a lovely Brian Bilston poem the other day about sparing oneself from being an adult, spare me from growing up, and it's beautiful. He writes phenomenally well about things, but spare me from tax returns and the school sort of the school run, the right thing to do, all of that. It's a very good little set of lines that a lot of people would do well to live by. I certainly would have done.
Don't be too quick to grow up. Yeah.
Quite right.
Beautiful. And thank you so much, Chris. Such an amazing way to end our night. So thank you so much for joining me. We really appreciate it, and for being part of this book. Just
Well,
amazing.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Chris. Can I ask the other Chris to unmute and come and join me quickly? I'm mindful that we have just engrossed in conversation tonight and went a bit over time, but Chris, if you could just come and quickly talk about the charities briefly, and so we can end the night.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. 4 great charities that the book is supporting. We have SAFA, which is supporting veterans, but also serving armed forces people and their families, because it's often the families that are hit the hardest. And several of us involved in the book, as authors or myself, have military backgrounds, as you heard today from both Dom and Kate, and Andrew Powell as well, and Tim Wiggum, who's involved. No surprise that a lot of my network have been involved in the military at some point. So that's an important cause, as is shelter. I find homelessness extraordinarily difficult to deal with. And if there was a way in which I could try and deal with it magically overnight, I would. And so I just keep trying to do what I can about that, and hence why we're supporting shelter. Samton, we've heard about with Jamie, which I think is an incredible charity, because it's not just about your mental and physical health and what people can do and supporting that, but I love the fact that Samton also give 50% of everything that they get to other charities in that mindfulness and meditation area. So just by supporting one charity, you're supporting multiple other charities that are helping people with their mental well-being, which I think is incredible. And then the 4th charity is the Cancer Fund for Children, a great organisation based in Northern Ireland, with essentially providing support for children who are suffering with cancer, or support to children whose parents and close family members are suffering from cancer. So looking after them and their own well-being, because it's having had my very own flip top head episode at one point with a tumour, I'm very aware of how much of an impact cancer can make on people's lives. But I know we've run on, so I won't dwell anymore on bigging up the people that have been on this afternoon's webinar, other than to echo what Tim said, that the cander's been extraordinary. And I think if I could turn each of the hours that we've been on so far, these 3 hours of webinars, into some sort of audible that I could just listen to as I'm driving along, it'd be like having some sort of huge duvet of loveliness around me, and I'd be a very happy boy to have that on all my future car trips.
We'll do that for you, Chris. No problem. That's the wonderful thing about Zoom. You get your audios. Amazing. And I'm just going to stop my video and share with everybody. Do you see that? Do you see our competition that we have on at the moment? Because we want to raise as much as we can for those amazing charities. We really and truly do, but also make each one of these very deserving contributors a best-selling author. And I've just checked, and we're number 3 in Australia right now. So we're nearly there. So just share those links that are in my posts. Just share with your even PM people. I'm going to be as brash to say that. And to all of the amazing attendees, please go grab your copy, because we're nearly there, and we would love, whenever we hit number 1, it means that we can speak about this more. It means that we can have a higher vibration for this book. And that is why we are so passionate about getting it out there far and wide. And it's an amazing book. It's one that you will never, you will always see as an investment in self, and an amazing gift for people. So not just for yourself. So I'm not going to go on any further, only to say thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. Kat, Kate, Chris, Jamie, Dom, and Chris, as always. And we cannot wait for tomorrow night's our finale night. What an amazing 3 nights already, but it's just so wonderful. There's so much value packed into these conversations, and everybody's showing up for the mission that we've got behind this book, which is to inspire other people and to raise money for charity. That is what the energy you're feeling right now is the essence of that. So thank you for joining us, and please tell everyone about it, because we're in a mission. Everyone's purposeful here in this call. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for hosting us so well as ever. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. Bye, everyone.